USA Ultimate is proud to present the 2015 U.S. Open Ultimate Championships. We're in Westchester, Ohio, the first of 3 championship matches, as Seattle Mixtape gets set to take on Ellipsis from Melbourne, Australia, in the finals of the mixed division. A look at the brackets, and both these teams securing victories yesterday. Ellipsis had a little bit of an easier time with CLX, while Mixtape took down Dragon Thrust in a rematch of last year's national final. Hi, everybody. Sean Kinney alongside the voice of Ultimate, Evan Lepler. Great to have you with us. What a week it has been here in Westchester. Now we get set for the climax, the first of 3 championships, this mixed division. And you automatically think championship and you think pressure, but I guarantee you these might be the 2 loosest teams in the whole division.
Well, in mixed ultimate, there aren't 2 teams that have more fun than Seattle Mixtape and Melbourne Ellipsis. The Australians yesterday just demolishing CLX, a really strong team. Seattle Mixtape burst onto the scene, making the finals of nationals last year, and they were called Seattle Mixed. Yesterday, 16-14 over Minneapolis Dragon Thrust, the 2-time defending champion. The thing is, they both love to have fun, but they both are super athletic, too.
Yes, they certainly are, and we're going to be able to showcase that today. Let's start with Ellipsis, our friends from Australia. It's a relatively new group.
They won the 2013 Asia Oceanic Championships, beating the Philippines, a virtual Filipino national team. And they've put together some of the best talent in Australia to compete at the U.S. Open. They're experienced, they're athletic, and they are fast. Brendan Ashcroft is a sprinter. He's run a 10.71 100 meters. He has burst, and all weekend long he has been a huge athletic threat. The females on Ellipsis have typically dominated the opposing females. Ashcroft, one of the many men that can match up as well.
On the opposite side, Mixtape has their own type of speed as well.
Well, they're a team that's really interesting. They, as I said, burst onto the scene last year at Nationals. They lost their first game of this tournament 15-9. They didn't think too much of it. Slow White beat them good. A bunch of their guys had just gotten off red eyes and then played the next morning. Khalif El Salam, probably the most athletic specimen on this roster. Great player. He'll be on the U23 U.S. national team next week in London. Plays for the University of Washington. He's been playing since he was in 6th grade in middle school, growing up in Seattle. He's got the athleticism, he's developed the throws, and now he's a captain trying to lead his team to their first major championship.
The stage is set. It's the Mixed Division Championship. Ellipsis and Seattle Mixtape will have the opening poll from Westchester right after this. The 2015 U.S. Open Ultimate Championships are presented by Discraft Ultrastar, the official disc of USA Ultimate. Ask your retailer for Discraft Ultrastar. The Triple Crown Tour, the sport of ultimates premier competitive experience, and by USA Ultimate, the national governing body for the sport of ultimate in the United States. For more information or to find out where to play ultimate in your area, visit usaultimate.org. Just like yesterday, an absolutely gorgeous day here in Westchester. Let's meet today's starting lineups, and we will showcase some of the better offensive players in this division for the top 6 goal scorers in this game. Let's start with Ellipsis. Ashcroft and Alexander have combined for 25 goals in the 5 games so far this week. They are the main weapons offensively, while on the opposite side for Seattle Mixtape, Cameron Bailey has been the main distributor, leading the way with 14 assists, and the lethal combination of Brad Hauser and Khalif El Salam combining for 28 goals. So certainly offensive weapons on both sides. Here's what you need to know if you are unfamiliar with the sport of ultimate. There's 7 players to a side. The first squad to 15 wins, and you get a point once you complete a pass in the opponent's end zone. Halftime is reached once a team scores 8 goals. The disc can advance in any direction. You cannot run with the disc. You have 10 seconds to get rid of it. Games are self-officiated. They have observers in the bright orange, and the teams switch ends after each score. What you need to know about Ultimate, we're ready to go. A fun day here in Westchester as Ellipsis, who had donned the white for the first 3 days of the tournament, come out in the black here, and they will open up with the disc after the pull. As Evan mentioned, a factor in this game to keep an eye on will be the women of Australia. They really have been able to get some separation from the opponent's women, and they have used them throughout the course of the tournament. In particular, Danny Alexander, team high 17 goals. Here's a long toss down toward the end zone, and it's an early score. Georgia, Egan Griffiths hauls it in.
They call her G, and she's one of the stars with the Phillips sisters, Danny Alexander, Lacey Moore. I mean, all the females on Ellipsis have just been dominant. They're the best females in all of Australia, along with some of the best men in Australia. This is a true Australian all-star team. And just like yesterday, Sean, a great start. Flawless first point.
About the hammer toss there from Ashcroft on the assist.
Excuse me, Sean. The keys for Seattle Mixtape coming into this game, you know, they're talked about containing the goal scorers for Ellipsis, focusing on Danny Alexander, Michelle and Kat Phillips. The thing is, there's some women who haven't scored a ton of goals who certainly could do that. Throughout the tournament, Melbourne has been phenomenal. They knocked off Polar Bears, a championship caliber team from the Bay Area, on the first day. And then the win over Dragon Thrust was simply a remarkable game. 15-14, could have gone either way. Ellipsis scored on Universe to get the W. In the semifinals yesterday, I don't think CLX played a miserable game. They didn't play their best, but Ellipsis just overpowered them. I mean, CLX could have played better and Ellipsis still would have won. That's how good Melbourne was.
So let's see what Mixtape can do here to counter to start this one. Southpaw tosses it deep downfield with the hawk and through the fingertips, incomplete. Seattle trying to counter quickly. That was Claire Revere who could not haul it in. So the game's first turnover, and Ellipsis a chance for an early break. Andrew Jackson zips it up ahead to Callan Spielman. Jackson comes back to the disc, flicks it downfield, has a couple of players toward the end zone, jumping up and grabbing it, and a quick start just like yesterday for Ellipsis as Spielman holds it in using his 6'2" frame to elevate and snatch.
You know, throughout the tournament, Melbourne has made defensive offense look easy, too easy. And you figure in the semifinals, they'll be tested a little bit more, but no, they basically cut through CLX like a knife through butter. In the finals, okay, they'll be pushed a little. No, not the first 2 points. Utter domination, a gorgeous put from Jackson.
That's his
two
role
targets
on the team.
there.
Yeah, he could have picked a couple different guys. Spielman holds it in, his 7th goal of the tournament, and for Jackson, a team-high 14th assist.
These guys just have fun playing together. And there are a couple slumber parties going on in Australia right now to watch this. 1 a.m. in Australia at the moment. There's a party in Sydney, there's a party in Melbourne. Some of these Australian players are going to travel to the U.S. Some are flying out tomorrow. Some are flying out today.
Some are driving out later tonight.
Yeah, Steph Malka lives in Toronto. She has an 8-hour drive back home. She said she has to work tomorrow. Won't be able to celebrate too hard before she hits the road. If they can close this out, long way to go, obviously. Chatting with Brendan Ashcroft before the game, the sprinter. He's flying out at 2:30 this afternoon out of Cincinnati. And his flight plan is absolutely nuts. Cincinnati to DC, DC to LA, LA to Sydney, Sydney to Adelaide, where he'll get off the plane, drive straight to Fields, and after 30 hours of travel, play 3 ultimate games for the Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology.
Just another day in the busy life of an ultimate player from Australia. Seattle in good shape, trying to get on the board for the first time. They'll flick it toward the back corner, and they get the score. It's Cameron Bailey hauling it in. And Bailey showing his elevation. He was an All-American high jumper at Central Washington. He can certainly get up. Trying to light a spark with Seattle Mixtape on this Sunday morning.
Well, I think Jimmy Graham would approve of this celebration. Wasn't exactly the most enthusiastic score, but he told us before the game if he catches a goal, he's going for the goalposts. Much smoother offense this time from Seattle Mixtape. It's interesting because they're not a team that necessarily prides itself on fundamentals. They're a team that prides itself on their sort of careless pickup style. A lot of players who just played a lot of pickup in the Seattle area. Pickup, mini, goaltimate. And at this tournament in particular, they've worked on trying to become a little bit more refined, a little bit more disciplined, but they don't want to become too structured because that's not who they are.
Take away from their style. They made the solid run last year in the national tournament, losing to Dragon Thrust, but yesterday they were able to put a little revenge together against the top seed Dragon Thrust, winning the semifinal 16-14. Here's the pull. Ellipsis with an early 2-1 lead. Emery Thomas will start the offensive attack for Australia. Thomas a backhand up to Malcher. Swing it over to Mike Neild in his first year with this program, the 34-year-old veteran. Kat Phillips makes her first catch. See the quick motion as Neild fires it up ahead, but too tall, and over the head of Phillips, and a turnover for Ellipsis.
First opportunity for the Seattle D-line to have the disc.
This will be Daniel Walton for Seattle Mixtape along the far side. Huck downfield. 50-50 jump, and look at Salam go up and grab it. He'll backhand it to the end zone for the score. You mentioned the athleticism with Khalif El Salam. He showcased it right there.
Going up right in between two Australian players, and he knocked him down like a couple of bowling pins. He read it the whole way. They collide, and the easy finish. El Salam picks up the assist. The goal for Taylor Kanamori. You know, all tournament long, Evan Klein has been the initiation cutter for the D-line. He'll cut, get that first disc, and El Salam, the type of guy who always is looking to go deep. Started playing in 6th grade at the Northwest School, was coached by Alex Wells, who's coached him at University of Washington. Reed Koss, longtime Seattle Sockeye star and captain. Teammates with Henry Fan and Jesse Bolton at the Northwest School.
See Kanamori scoring her first goal of the tournament. Graduate from Colorado College, 2013. 4-year member of the Colorado College Ultimate Program. Was captain of her high school team for 3 years. Played in Junior Worlds in 2008 and 2010. 13-year veteran of Ultimate at the young age of 25.
I think Kanamori was on the first U.S. team that lost to an Australian team at Junior Worlds. We were chatting with Kat Phillips about that yesterday, and you know, throughout the Australians' sort of ascent into the ultimate scene, Miranda Roth, a longtime Riot star, one of the greatest women to ever play the sport, you know, their strategy against playing Australia was don't throw it near Kat. When they're on offense, just whichever side of the field Kat is not on, we'll throw it that way, because Phillips was just such a wrecking ball defensively, both in man defense and in zone defense.
Mixtape gets the break they were searching for early, 2-2. Henry Thomas for Australia. Gets it to Phillips. Now Thomas with the backhand. He uncorks it deep. Has a receiver open, and hauling it in is Danny Alexander. No surprise, Alexander leading this Australian team with her 18th goal.
You know, it was a really good cut from Alexander, but the vision from Thomas to see this. You know, you say that you divide the field into thirds, and a good huck goes from 1/3 of the field to another third of the field. There was good angle on this disc, obviously the right distance, and Alexander coming from the far side into the middle third of the field for this score.
Alexander has such a fun personality in visiting with her the past couple of days. She was a phenomenal netball player in Australia, and I had to ask, I said, what's netball? And she says, well, it resembles your basketball, but there's no dribbling, but you still put a ball through the hoop.
There's no backboard either.
No backboard. So she says you have to have the soft touch. She says you guys get banked out all the time by those bank boards. That makes it a lot easier. So she was an exceptional netball player. Was a long jumper in high school, and you see what she has done here at the U.S. Open Championships, leading the mixed division in goals. And the women of Australia with 2 of their first 3 tallies in this final.
It's fun watching the Australian team warm up because there are 3 or 4 guys on the field playing Australian rules football, batting that around, kicking it around.
Dan, close up, Dan, close up.
Bailey at the center of the field. Quick release. Now a flick downfield, but this one's going to get away from Seattle and a turnover. And we're looking to hook up with Paul.
Nick Dare tapped himself on the chest, said, my bad. He had Paul wide open. Plenty of space to work with and just threw way too much of a laser.
Ellipsis will start this possession at the goal line with Dan Matthews-Hunter. D-line opportunity, and Australia gets a little careless as they turn it over. We were chatting with Khalif El-Salam before the game, and he said defense will get their breaks. They're going to get their opportunities. We're concerned about the offense and how many turnovers we commit on that side of the disc. And here we see back-to-back mistakes for Seattle Mixtape. Certainly a fast break team. Their defense relishes on the turnovers, and they want to pump up the pace as much as they can. Ellipsis back with control. Spielman, that strong left arm looking. And it's knocked away. A good D and a read there. I believe it was Claire Revere who jumped in the lane. It is Revere who got a hand on it and will be given credit with the D.
And Revere on the U23 U.S. mixed team that probably could have won the mixed division here at the U.S. Open. That's how dominant I believe that U23 mixed team is going to be in London next week.
Brad Hauser, one of the leaders of this Seattle Mixtape, he has the disc. Dangerous toss toward the center of the field. A lot of traffic, but it's corralled. Now Phil Paul dumps it back to Bailey. And I believe a call, a pick set downfield.
Quick rundown of some of the players on this U23 U.S. mixed roster. Khalif El-Salam, Claire Revere, Georgia's Elliot Erickson, Simon Higgins and Eli Kearns from Revolver. Got Sarah Mextroth, one of the best women in the mixed game from Dragon Thrust. Big D.
Spielman, who's been really active early on for Ellipsis, able to leap over and get the D there.
Yeah, great closing speed, reading the disc and going up to get it. Spielman continues to make plays. Also on the U.S. mixed team, Callahan Award winner Jonathan Nethercutt, former Central Florida star Mike Ogren, Lisa Pitcaithley from Fury, Sheena Titcomb from Tufts and Riot, Nathan White, another guy from Revolver. I mean, the coaches, Martin Aguilera and a couple of Fury girls, Alex Snyder and Nancy Sun, might have too much talent to work with, if that's a thing.
We'll see quite a few of those players later today. Australia with a rare turnover near their goal line, and Seattle Mixtape says thank you very much. They take full advantage of it. Hauser finds the end zone, 3-3.
Seattle's done a pretty good job taking advantage of Melbourne's couple mistakes. And we have not seen Ellipsis turn the disc over in that quadrant of the field very often. And just a good isolation play, the assist for Bailey. 3 break chances in that point. Third time was a charm as they cash in.
Hauser's such a good ambassador for the sport of ultimate in the great Northwest. Does a lot of work there. He's part of the Disc Northwest promoting the sport in the Northwest, as I mentioned, part of the Seattle Rainmakers as well, a veteran in his 6th year with Seattle Mixtape. And his score after the Melbourne mistake ties it up at 3 apiece in this first half. Do you see Mixtape doing anything differently from what CLX tried to do yesterday, slowing down this Ellipsis machine?
And I think Mixtape might be 5 to 10% more athletic than CLX, and I think that makes a difference. You know, matching up with Australia's best. And that makes those throws, especially the unders, a little bit tighter. The marks a little bit tighter. Less window to connect. And a few errant throws. Seattle could take the lead here.
El-Salam trying to close in on the disc, but this one sails out of bounds after the Jen Cogburn interception. Seattle turns it right back over, looking for their big home run hitter, Khalif El-Salam. Australia with 3 straight turnovers make it 4. Not even Kat Phillips can save that one. And Australia clearly out of sorts right now after jumping out to a quick 2-0 lead. That's 4 consecutive mistakes by the Australians. Deep turnovers as El Salam outmuscles the defender just shy of the goal line.
I thought he might have been in the end zone.
El Salam darts it across, and we have contact and a foul. Tried the backhand, but some contact with the tight mark, so they will get it right back. Ashcroft with the foul on the tight mark there. Salam looking for his 2nd assist in this first half, trying to give Seattle their first lead. Count on, finally gets rid of it, and he finds the end zone for the score, and Mixtape fired up. They have their first lead.
That's a break for Seattle. There were only 2 turnovers the first 5 points of this game. Last 2 points there have been 9, and really for the first time all tournament, we're seeing the Australian team a little vulnerable. I mean, I don't remember seeing them frazzled like this at any point when we were watching them in pool play or in the semifinals yesterday.
Roberta Abbott with the goal, part of the nationally ranked women's Ultimate Underground. She's served mainly as the handler on the defensive line. The Frisco, Texas native, 27-year-old, her 2nd year with Mixtape.
And Bert Abbott got to go to the finals at Nationals in her hometown. The entire Seattle team stayed at Bert's grandmother's house. She was 92 years old. They almost all slept on the floor, and it was an amazing experience. Brad Hauser said everybody had a blast. Her 92-year-old grandmother could not have been more nice and more excited to have the entire Seattle team there.
I think there were a few home-cooked meals that week in Texas.
I bet.
Whatever they were cooking, it worked. They had such a strong run last year at the national tournament. Mentioned propelling themselves all the way into the finals, finishing as the runner-up. Hoping to build on that this season. Off to a good start in the first leg of the Triple Crown Tour. Let's see if Australia can rediscover their game after a shaky few moments here. Mike Neal, the veteran, Huck downfield, looking for Pete Allen. Allen jumps up and grabs it. And just like that, Australia counters.
Wow. Evan Klein's closing speed made this a remarkable grab. Ellipsis had a couple steps, but Klein closed the gap and just misread it by a touch. Nice throw from Neild, and a great read from Thomas. Beg your pardon, Allen.
Pete Allen is an across-the-board ultimate player for Team Ellipsis. He has scored his 5th goal, but he's a good handler of the disc. He's a solid defender. A lot of these Australians, if you look at it, they have some size with their men. Neal goes 6'4", Spielman 6'3". Allen, who scored that last goal, at 6'3". Henry Thomas at 6'4", so there is some height with Ellipsis, the group from Melbourne. Tulit will have the pull when play resumes. 4-4 our score. First of 3 championships today from Westchester at the 2015 U.S. Open. The women coming up at 1:30 Eastern, the men at 4 o'clock today. Mixtape, Nick Dare setting up the offense, swings it over to Brad Hauser, who has a goal. Hauser up ahead to Cameron Bailey. Bailey, little underhand flip dump as he comes back to Hauser. Hauser turns and will face. He's guarded by Gavin Moore. There's Lucy Williams, who's been a key component of this program. She's one of the leaders of Seattle Mixtape, one of the main organizers. There's a downfield Huck. They're looking for Hauser again. He skies up and grabs it. Not quite into the goal line. They're going to have to wait again, make one more pass. They'll flip it in. Now they get it. Grace Noah, the 5'7", the 5'2" handler, able to get it in. All set up by a couple of nice catches near the goal line for Mixtape.
Brad Hauser is at a great tournament. He's led him in goals. not a giant as a deep threat, but really quick, strong, reads the disc well. And the assist again for Bailey.
You tell Bailey wasn't ready for that disc. He thought he might have a couple more seconds to get into that end zone. His facial expression showing it.
Bailey walked into the stadium today wearing a old school Gary Payton Seattle Supersonics jersey. That jersey is now hanging up in the Seattle Mixtape tent on the sidelines. As a big NBA fan, appreciate the nostalgia.
Yeah, I noticed that. The old Peyton, Sean Kemp days when the Supersonics were a power. There it is. Hoping to bring them some luck.
Hey, good looking threads.
They do. Mixtape. 5-4 in front of Ellipsis. Here comes Australia back on the attack. Henry Thomas. Thomas comes near side to Cat Phillips, but we have a call away from the action. It's been a relatively quiet start for Cat Phillips and Michelle Phillips, two of the key women on this Ellipsis team. Let's see if they try to get Cat involved with this possession.
Yeah, give credit to Jen Cogburn. She has taken the toughest matchup on D throughout the tournament and has really stepped up, playing more important points than ever, taking the tougher matchups for the first time, and great opportunity for Seattle here. They were down 2-0. They score here, it'd be a 6-2 run to transform this first half.
Here's the layout attempt by Neal, coming up just empty. Mikey Cavanaugh surveys, goes to El Salam along the far side. He flicks it toward the end zone, too far out in front of Cogburn, incomplete.
Now, I like El Salam coming underneath there because Ellipsis was really respecting the deep shot. It was a good underneath cut, and this looked like a good throw in the air, but Cogburn was just a step too late.
Matt Hill, who they call the technician on this squad. He kind of does the organizing as far as the X's and O's, wearing 00 for Australia.
He's not just a leader of this team. He's, job is working for Ultimate Australia, helping to promote and build Ultimate through all different schools across the country. It's a cool job.
Ashcroft flicks it. Alexander waits with the left hand. She takes it away from a couple of defenders. Good concentration there by a pretty special player, Danny Alexander. And again, it's Ashcroft with another beauty.
Yeah, there was a time when Ashcroft wouldn't have dared to make that throw. I mean, he was a pure athlete who discovered Ultimate to get back into team sports. Had played basketball, tennis, squash, little Australian rules football as a kid. But around his middle school age, he focused on sprinting and sprinting exclusively. So he went to college, University of Victoria. Got to play team sports, and anybody who's led a college Ultimate team knows you find an athlete like him, you don't care if he can't throw. You just send him deep, let him make the catch, and then encourage him to dump it. That was the type of threatening throw that he has learned through the years.
You bring up an interesting point. When you find an athlete at the club level or even on the college campuses, how long, on an average does it take to develop a good thrower to kind of get him caught up to speed in the sport?
It takes a while. It really does vary from thrower to thrower, and it depends on how committed they are. I mean, I'm by no means one of the great throwers, but I'd never thrown a flick before I went to college. Practiced it a lot, and really threw every single day in the summer between my freshman and sophomore year. So when I got back on campus as a sophomore, I felt really confident because I had thrown every single day, and that's just what it takes. The repetition, like anything, like shooting a basketball. You got to shoot and shoot and shoot, figure things out. Tinker with your grip, tinker with the angle, figure out how it feels comfortable for you.
Revere going deep, but it's knocked away. Closing speed from Gavin Moore as he lost his cap. Moore out of Sydney, Australia, one of the non-Melbourne natives on this team, able to make the play downfield. I believe there was a foul called on the release of the disc as we go back to the observers.
So the point is, Sean, by this time next year, you could be one of the great throwers in the sport.
I don't think so. Just like it was a great free throw shooter. You made the basketball analogy. Going to the gym twice a year doesn't count, does it?
Coming on one.
So after the foul, Seattle will retain possession. Lucy Williams. Guarded tightly by Fung with the mark. It's like Ellipsis trying to pick up the pressure with their marks here. Jumping on, here's Michelle Phillips, forcing the backhand. Debbie Barker-Lee looking, finally with that count drawing close to 10. She's able to dump it back safely. Mixtape trying to get in their lanes. There's a flick up ahead and a beautiful layout. Great job by Revere. Give and go as they go right back to Revere, 5 yards away from the end zone. But they're going to say she landed out of bounds with it, could not get 1 foot in. Ellipsis gets control.
That's a tough break because the previous layout grab from Revere was such a tremendous catch. You don't see a lot of women making plays like that in the course of the field, especially her age.
Tullett, backhand, Huck. Couple of Ellipsis players down there, jumping up all by her lonesome and holding it in is Michelle Phillips. And the two sisters, the dynamic Phillips sisters for Ellipsis, into the score column for the first time, and it's the elder Michelle getting the goal.
Michelle Phillips has been practicing with San Francisco Fury for the last month. She's become a part of the San Francisco women's community. They all respect her, and you get better by playing with the best. And one of the best in Australia, Tom Tullett, they call him Cupcake. He's been playing Ultimate for a long time, been on this Ellipsis squad since its inception. And Tom Tullett has a lot on the line tonight.
You aren't kidding.
He has said, or his teammates have said, that he will shave his head if Melbourne wins the title. Now he's apparently gotten a little reticent toward the possibility. He's got a lot of hair. He lives in London now. He works as a barista. And apparently his teammates said that he's going to want all $2,000 of the prize money if he's going to shave his head. Donate that for Locks for Love. I mean, there's a lot of stuff there.
There's a lot on top. Get some razor sharp shears there.
One of his teammates said that we should say he wants to be like Warren Cappo, who's a famous Australian rules football player. Sort of has that shaggy style.
Melbourne gets the break. They go back up 6-5, a nice layout. A little chest pump there from Bird Abbott trying to create some space. Seattle Mixtape with control. Again, Ellipsis has picked up their defensive pressure the last 2 times on D. Tullett trying to track down Bailey. And a pick is called, I believe, away from the action. This will stop it.
Mentioned it off the top, but one of the things that separates this Seattle team is how much mini they play. You know, smaller field, the throws aren't as big, but a lot of handler movement, shifty cutting back and forth, change of direction, creative throws, scoobers, push passes.
They're still working it out?
They're really dangerous with the disc in short, small spaces. And similarly, throughout the field, they have good layouts.
Bailey, backhand Huck, trying to run underneath it is Hauser, but this one too far out in front, incomplete. Connection Bailey to Hauser. They've combined for quite a few points, but not this time.
Too much on the throw. There's an opening here for Ellipsis. And they don't run through it.
They have had 3 turnovers deep in their own end. Mixtape has taken advantage of the first 2. Will they make it 3 for 3 here and tie this game up at 6 apiece? Williams over to El Salam, makes the juggling catch. Tight mark put on by Andrew Jackson. Now he skips it into the front of the end zone. Bailey goes lunging after it. Back to El Salam. Jackson again with the mark on El Salam, who has a couple of helpers. He zips it toward the front. Lucy Williams is there. And Seattle Mixtape ties it up.
Well, Melbourne got the disc. Tulit knew he wanted to break his mark. Did not have enough fluid on that throw intended for Gavin Moore. Bailey thought he was in at first. He wasn't. Dumped it back to El Salam. The saw count rising. Little shimmy to the left, throw to the right. Hit Williams.
You mentioned Mixtape excels when they have the short field. Well, Ellipsis is kind of playing into their hands with 3 turnovers deep in their own territory in this first half.
It's a great point. In uncharacteristic mistakes from what we've seen from the Australians. You know, Ellipsis now just 2 for 6 on break chances. Don't remember the exact number from yesterday, but it was well above 50%. I mean, when CLX turned it over, Melbourne pounced very fast. Curious to see how this kid, El Salam, continues to develop. He's only 21. Comes from a huge family. He's one of 10 children. He's the second oldest. The kid's age range from 25 to 2. He played football, basketball. Started focusing on ultimate though, and he was in middle school, and product of that Seattle youth team that has just fostered so many talented young players.
Cat Phillips flicks it. Alexander in the vicinity, going to have to take it away from 2 defenders, and it looked like Alexander got popped in the mouth there inadvertently. Jumping in, trying to break it up with the D was Evan Klein, and I think he had that elbow come up and pop Alexander smack dab in the nose. Maybe in the mouth. Looks like she's making sure all of her teeth are still intact.
Ooh.
Yep.
And caught her with the left arm. Now we heard the observers rule that this is uncatchable. I agree. I agree that it was uncatchable, but I also feel like there needs to be some retribution for Klein, even incidentally, popping her in the face. I mean, that was a foul.
Take that back. Just going over the Mixtape.
So Seattle Mixtape will get possession, and immediately they look to attack with a huck downfield, hovering, and look at the layout. Hauling it in is Kavanaugh. Oh my, what a grab. Kavanaugh flips it in for the score. Mixtape with 2 swift passes, and you can see the excitement. They grab the lead. Jen Cogburn thought about trying to follow her teammate Cameron Bailey, but she thought better of it there.
How about that celebration? She realized she couldn't jump over the goalpost, so we make renewed goalpost. And this was a very quick strike. Perfect throw, spectacular layout. And then Kavanaugh directing traffic around the end zone to finish it off and put Mixtape within 1 of half.
Look at this layout by Kavanaugh, the 24-year-old first-year player with Mixtape. A glimpse of the athleticism, and then shadowing him downfield was Cogburn, who had time to get into the end zone.
She's going to spike it. Oh, wait. There's some goalposts that she can dunk it over.
Think they rehearsed that a time or 2?
I wouldn't be surprised.
They have a lot of fun. We talked about it. This is one of those matches where, you know, as a broadcaster, we always enjoy going down, talking to the teams before the game or the night before a match, and in any sport. But with these 2 teams, I really look forward to getting down there and just chatting with them, because they take such a fun approach to the game. You know, it's just refreshing to see.
Yeah, Sean, and you know, the more you cover Ultimate, the more you realize that is not the exception in this sport. Very few teams are not fun to talk to.
The creative characters, no doubt about it. Ellipsis down a point in this first half. A tight one after a quick start by Australia. Mixtape Battle back, they lead it. There's a backhand to the end zone and an easy score. Pete Allen secures it to tie it up at 7 apiece. There haven't been too many uncontested catches toward the tail end of this first half allowed by Mixtape, but a breakdown there.
Well, just smooth offense from Ellipsis. They're not rushing it, taking the sure thing. Cat Phillips, so reliable with the disc, you know, against the junk defense from Seattle. And really a defensive breakdown. Nobody guarding the open man, Pete Allen in the end zone. So timeout called here. Ellipsis takes it. First timeout for either side of the half, and you know, this is a point to take half. Seattle Mixtape is actually up a break right now. If they receive and score here, they'll take half 8-7, and then Mixtape will receive to start the second half as well. So a chance to receive and score 2 in a row and really make a statement. If Ellipsis can get a break, then we're back on serve. Yes, they'd be up 8-7, but virtually a tie heading into the half.
Get a good look at Andrew Jackson, who leads this Australian team with assists. And again, another fun guy to talk to, and he told me he's a huge fan, and this might be even an understatement. He is a huge fan of Taylor Swift. I mean, he is everything Taylor Swift. And so on his plane ride over here to the States, he listened to all 5 of Taylor's albums at least twice. Plus,
wow.
he's been nonstop tuning her in before each game. Taylor Swift is his motivation as far as the musical montage goes. To get pumped up, he tunes in to Taylor Swift. So he has had a ball with that. In fact, he was thinking about changing, and this is just a joke for you folks back in Australia tuning in. He was laughing earlier saying, I might change my mother to Taylor Swift so I can just say I have that connection. He's that diehard of a fan of Taylor.
I appreciate the passion. Players got to play.
Andrew Jackson. 7-7 our score here in the first half. So let's see what Seattle can do after the timeout. You mentioned this critical possession, already up a break.
There's some haters in the truck who are going to hate about that last comment.
Two lets her fly on the pole. 7-7 our score. Mixtape with a big possession here as they try to send it to halftime. Lucy Williams has her pass D'd away. Good play there by Mike Neal. Ellipsis will set the troops into place. Tullett. He has Phillips flanking, and he threw it away. Good defense on the mark there, setting the turnover as they really applied the pressure on Tullett. So back to Seattle Mixtape. Looks like they have a couple of lanes to go to. They attack the center of the field. Turning and circling is Hauser. Hauser backhands it to Revere on the far side. Being guarded tightly by Michelle Phillips. Trying to force the backhand. Revere looking and getting a hand on it with the D was Phillips. We talked about the tight mark, and she comes up with a big play.
Yeah, you knew at some point Michelle Phillips would make something happen, and it's defensively on the mark. A really astute, veteran-aware play to get a finger on that disc. See if Tullett thinks about airing one out here. Nothing open, he wanted it.
Gavin Moore goes the short route to Jackson. A big first half like he has had pretty much every day here in Westchester, distributing the disc. But nobody home on this one. And we're seeing an array of turnovers all of a sudden here as the teams try to send it to halftime. And Mixtape's going to use their second and final timeout in this first half.
A lot of unforced turnovers, but some forced. Michelle Phillips, the older of the two Phillips sisters, started playing Ultimate when her family hosted some Americans who played Ultimate, including Steve Sullivan from Slow White, couple of Fury girls. Great awareness there, just being active on the mark, and she was fired up. It was when those American Ultimate players visited her family that they all went out to the park, threw the Frisbee, and all the Phillips siblings sort of realized, hey, this is fun. And that's when they really started playing and wanted to become good at it. You see how much fun throwing the disc is, and you just make that sort of internal decision, I want to be able to do this. And she's one of the best in the country.
See her sister Kat there, and I asked Michelle, what's your proudest moment in the sport of ultimate? Without hesitation, she went back to the gold medal game in the U23s back in 2010 in Florence, Italy, and she scored the winning goal on an assist from guess who? Her sister Kat, to clinch it for Australia, one of her special moments in the sport. And I have a feeling they're going to have a few more through the years. Here's the huck downfield, and for the second time, Yield knocked it away, deflected, and then let's see, did he maintain possession before? No. Tremendous effort, first by Neild and then Bailey on the deflection.
Great D from Neild, and then Bailey certainly feels like he should have had this. The disc was wobbling at a weird angle, but he got both hands on it. The other way, Australia looking deep.
And they connect. Gavin Moore gets it to Michelle Williams. She's going to wait for help. Williams circles it back to Kat. Kat Phillips across the way to Neild, who's made a couple of terrific plays. He zips it to the front of the pylon toward the corner, and they get the score. It's Andrew Jackson. And after a hard-fought first half, it is Australia that goes into the break with the 1-point advantage, 8-7 Ellipsis.
What a great half that was. Back and forth, both teams shooting long, making plays, layouts, skies, and calm, composed red zone offense here from Ellipsis. Phillips to Phillips, swinging the disc to the far side of the field. Neild had the layout D at one end and easily connecting with Andrew Jackson. Independence Day weekend, Andrew Jackson was a former U.S. president. Now an Australian named Andrew Jackson threatening to win the U.S. Open on American soil.
He has certainly had a first half here, propelling Ellipsis an 8-7 lead at the intermission. An entertaining first half of the Mixed Division Championship at the 2015 U.S. Open Championship. And now let's get the perspective from the Ellipsis sideline. Matt Hill joins us. And Matt, what an entertaining first half. You're able to get the late goal there to go on top by 1. But take us through the first half. We saw some uncharacteristic mistakes from Ellipsis. What was the reasoning behind that, do you feel?
Don't know. I was hoping they didn't happen, but they did, and we got a game, don't we? So, yeah, big crowd back home in Australia. Watching this. So, hi to all you guys, and yeah, I don't know. It's a great game. So, Seattle Mixtape really bringing it.
Do you think you guys will make any major adjustments here at halftime about particular matchups or anything like that?
I don't think so. I think we're doing the things on defense that we want to do. We're getting them to turn it. We are just turning it ourselves as well. So I think we're getting some blocks, whereas we're just turning it over ourselves. So if we can clean up our offense, I think we've got this.
It was great watching you guys yesterday. Did you talk to other folks back home in Australia? Were they able to watch the game yesterday and today?
Yeah, we got a lot of fans back home in Australia and across the world, I think, that are tuning in to watch this. So once we worked out how to do it, yeah, they're all up. So it's about 1:30 a.m. for them at the moment, and we're glad that they're following us.
Hey, Matt, what would a U.S. Open championship mean? I know you're such a great ambassador back in Australia teaching the youth the sport of ultimate. What would a championship here at this Invitational mean for you and your job in promoting the sport back home?
Yeah, well, it's what the kids want to hear at the school. They want to hear that Australia is good at playing ultimate, and if we can bring back the gold, then I can take that with me to the schools and show it off, and yeah, we'll get a bit more attention.
Well, Matt, good luck in the second half. It's been a lot of fun.
Thanks a lot.
Matt Hill with Ellipsis out of Melbourne, Australia. And right now, after a quick start to the game, they finish the first half strong, and they lead 8-7 here at the break. It's the mixed final of the U.S. Open Championships. Back with you from Westchester. Ellipsis with an 8-7 lead over Seattle Mixtape in the championship of the mixed division. And a big component both offensively and defensively for Mixtape is Khalif El-Salam. He joins us. And Khalif, we talked earlier, you mentioned the strength of your team is defense. Those transition opportunities, were you happy with the way you guys performed in the first half?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think that as soon as they make a mistake or something, if we can get our offense going quickly, not only does it keep them on their toes, but it gets a lot of people open in very, the deep space which we like to attack.
Khalif, you got to scout this Australian team a little bit. What's it like matching up with them on the field? They're pretty athletic.
Yeah, well, I think when we were scouting them, we were scouting different things than what they're showing us right now. Yesterday, we were scouting for what they like to do on offense because as a defensive player, I wanted to know what I needed to do. But now they're trying to show us what they can do on defense, and that's something that their offense wasn't ready for, and that's something they didn't have to show yesterday because they, played so well.
You guys had a magical run in Frisco last year. I remember talking to your leadership. You guys didn't even expect to make it to Nationals, and then you were all the way in the finals. What was the offseason like in trying to build up, realize that you're a pro flight team now here at the U.S. Open?
Well, the offseason this year was a lot of just, going out and playing. I think, people go off and they get in shape and they do whatever they want to outside, and then we just come together and we ball as a team. So I think not only we bring new people in the offseason, but we just, play a bunch and get that chemistry really, really high.
Khalif, good luck in the second half.
Awesome. Thank you. 2 chains.
Khalif El-Salam, 3 helpers in the first half, a goal as well. Part of the Seattle Mixtape offense. Ellipsis with an 8-7 lead. We'll have second half action coming up right after this from Westchester. Back with you here in Westchester, Ohio. The finals of the mixed division 2015 U.S. Open Championships in the first half did not disappoint, even though a number of mistakes, lots of excitement. Ellipsis with an 8-7 tally on Seattle Mixtape. And Evan, you go back to the way this game started, looked like maybe it was going to be a carbon copy of yesterday with Ellipsis dominating CLX.
Well, just like yesterday, a couple early breaks for the Australians, but then Seattle really started to dictate pace and tempo. The athleticism of El-Salam was very meaningful in them getting back into this game. And then it just went into good back and forth ultimate. Each team made a few mistakes. Each team also made a few spectacular plays. That was a nice huck, finding Alexander in the end zone. And then just swinging the disc, a defensive breakdown, and going up to get it again. He's been the star of the tournament, Alexander. Offensively, though, for Seattle, good combination of end zone offense and deep shots. And El-Salam didn't score a goal in the first half, but he dished it into the end zone 3 separate occasions. He was perhaps the play of the half. This layout on the verge of the goal line from Mikey Cavanaugh. And then one more throw into the end zone for the score. He hit Jen Cogburn. This was the very end of the half after it looked like Seattle was going to score to take half 8-7. They got the huck down into the red zone, taking their time. Cat Phillips to the far side of the field for the veteran Mike Neild, and the 34-year-old who's been in all sorts of international competitions, able to connect with Jackson for the score that sent it to half.
It was a big first half for Jackson. A couple of helpers to go along with that late goal. Alexander added to her team high, in fact, her tournament high goals with a couple more. Allen scored a pair for Ellipsis. Over on the Mixtape side, pretty good balance. You see 7 goals coming from 7 different players. El-Salam, the key component with the 3 assists in the first half. We're about to crown a champion, the first of 3 on this Sunday in Ohio. Second half is next. There were 5 international teams at this year's U.S. Open Championships, and the final one standing looking for the championship here from Melbourne, Australia, Ellipsis. They lead 8-7. Sean Kenny alongside Evan Lepler as we get set for the second half. It will be Mixtape receiving the pole as you take a look with Bailey and some of the main stars, Hauser and Phil Paul, Revere. They get ready for this critical offensive possession, the defensive line for Australia. Evan, your keys to the second half. Let's start with Mixtape.
Well, their key at the start of the game was take care of the disc on offense. You know, they're going to play their risk-taking game, but You know, Khalif El-Salam and Brad Hauser said the offense can't get broken more than 3 times. You know, 4 or less, we're probably in pretty good shape. This game right on serve right now, virtually tied.
Layout attempt by both the offensive player and the defender. It's Hauser who controls it, gets it up to Revere. Revere forced backhand, goes along the near sideline as they straddle that blue sideline. Catching it is Paul. Paul looks, gives it a heave down field, and it's intercepted by Ellipsis and an early turnover to start the second half. It's Malcher coming away with the pick. Now a backhand huck deep downfield, trying to turn it into offense. They're looking and catching it for the score, Gavin Moore. Moore and Phillips both streaking down the seam, and it's the 6'2" Sydney player, Gavin Moore, who notches it for Ellipsis.
And that's a break to go up 9-7. Not sure if Tullett was intending to get that throw. First we see the D from the Toronto resident, former Melbourne native. And Tullett just let this air. Obviously it was Michelle Phillips closer at the release, but the great speed of Gavin Moore to run it down.
You saw the communication from Phillips talking the entire way with her teammate Moore.
And it was Moore who had a lot of steps on Hauser.
An early break for Ellipsis. They lead 9-7. Moore scores for the first time today in this championship.
I think that the big thing for Ellipsis, they want to continue isolating one-on-one matchups. I mean, they're the best players in Australia. They feel like they can win individual matchups, and if they give their players a chance to make things happen, both underneath and going deep, I like their chances. Guys like Tullett and Neal distributing. It's a very nice pull from Tom Tullett.
Lets the defense get set and in position for Ellipsis. This will be Tullett on the mark of Cameron Bailey. Bailey dumps it back. Wheel nearly gave out on the reception as they get back into the offensive set. Debbie Barker-Lee backhands it over far side. Bailey with a huck downfield looking for El-Salam, being guarded by Spielman, and the 50-50 disc comes up empty, and another turnover. 2 high flyers there with both Spielman and El-Salam going after it.
I'm not sure if Spielman will get the credit for the D on the stat sheet, but certainly he closed the gap and forced El-Salam to go up more quickly than he initially intended to.
This is Victor Tan with it. We haven't seen a lot of Victor today in this championship match, the third-year player. He'll play at Worlds next year. He started with the men's team in Melbourne. Matt Hill, part of that squad, asked him to come join Ellipsis, and here he is.
This Ellipsis squad will probably play again together in October. Australian Mixed Nationals. They'll be in Adelaide. Their biggest rivals are a team called Frisky.
Yeah, they wanted to send out some greetings to Frisky back home, didn't they, this morning?
A very friendly rivalry,
yes,
but
indeed.
I think they also really want to beat them.
Alex Prentice, I certainly got that impression. Tan looking, firing, line drive, huck down field, and it's taken away by El-Salam. Spielman had his paw on it, just could not corral it. Talked about the defensive opportunities, the quick transitions. You can see the up-tempo style. El-Salam trying to thread the needle between a tight window, and it sails incomplete.
And that was a very pickup throw right there from El-Salam. You know, yeah, there was a couple guys going deep, but not a high percentage throw right here. If this is complete, it's really impressive. But, you know, should have realized that Victor Tan, the male player, was there poaching on the deep threat. He'll watch the film and realize he could have been smarter with the disc there.
Backhand up ahead goes to Pete Allen along the far sideline, approaching that midfield stripe. Allen goes forehand. Again, he's looking for Spielman. 50-50. Spielman goes up and catches it off his own deflection. He got caught in a mismatch there, and he was able to use his size to his advantage. But I think it's coming back, maybe a pick set before the catch. And I think it is a pick called by Seattle Mixtape.
And I think Spielman got so wide open because his defender was picked on the play. Spielman has steps on El Salam in the middle of the field. They go up line for Cupcake.
Off the vertical stack on the restart, Tulit. He cut off trying to go backhand, so he settles for the force side, which is that forehand, and now a hand and a foul called. Getting a piece of the arm, clipping the wrist, was Evan Klein. Klein hammering Allen, so Australia will reset it. Possible break for Ellipsis, already leading by a couple. Turning with the backhand toward the end zone, and there's El Salam denying.
El Salam read that well.
These two lines have been on the field a long time. Here's a huck, and there is nobody close to Evan Klein. He'll run underneath it, make the catch, but a pick being called way back, and Klein was all by his lonesome. There was nobody within 25 yards of him.
Yeah, but if he doesn't go catch that, then it is a turnover. Not sure there's anybody within 50 yards of him. That kind of begrudgingly running back. You saw the defender, number 28, Henry Thomas, kind of get in a log jam, and if his track is impeded in any way by one of the other players, it is a good pick call. It was a good call.
And in that case, it was Jen Cogburn who impeded his progress in the pick. So with it, Mixtape down a couple in the second half. Klein, El Salam settles for the underneath route, chasing it down Bailey. He'll fire toward the end zone, and it's caught for the score. Seattle Mixtape gets the point. Jen Cogburn with her second goal of the day, 9-8.
An important score. Alexander did all she could, but this is just a simple S-cut. Fake one way, turn the other. A little bit of a late gratuitous layout from Alexander, but I like it. Better decision that time from El Salam, getting the disc in the hands of Bailey. Power position, 9-8.
Yeah, you mentioned the Seattle Supersonic jersey hanging. It was on social media last night, just trying to get caught up with Mixtape. And Jen Cogburn actually had a chance to meet Nate Robinson, the former NBA player. She met him at the gym that they both work out. She sent out a tweet and an Instagram immediately. A big thrill for her, meeting one of her childhood idols. Such a rich sports area, isn't it? That Seattle,
Sure.
especially for the world of Ultimate, obviously for all that that area has accomplished.
I was on the San Francisco Fury Facebook page last night, and there's a picture of a couple of Fury alums that were getting ready to go to Masters tournament in the airport, taking a picture with Steve Kerr after he had recently won the title.
9-8 Ellipsis. This is Cat Phillips. Phillips gets it up ahead, leading by a point. Man-to-man defense from Mixtape. Neal comes to it along the far side. Picked up by El Salam. He'll float it across the way, across the field. It's a hover, and at the back of the end zone, but was she out of bounds? No, she
dropped it.
Dropped it, incomplete. Trying to keep both feet in, and it went through the fingertips. And a possible break opportunity for Mixtape.
And it right through the left paw. Not sure she would have been in bounds anyway.
I don't think she would have been able to keep the feet in there, at least one of them. Mulcher giving up the body on the layout. So back comes Mixtape. There's a left-handed shot downfield, right on cue and right on the money. Perfectly led pass with the huck. Conamore waiting. Finally El Salam pops free. He'll dump it back. Chance to tie it up. Operating 15 yards from the goal line, El Salam with the backhand toss across the field. The layout too far out in front, incomplete. And you saw the frustration from Kavanaugh. We've seen him snatch a couple of those today. Not this one.
As many good plays as we've seen. I mean, that would have been a spectacular grab, but it was a play that could have been made. In a close game, those near misses could be the difference.
Looking for Phillips. She has a couple of steps, and she'll haul it in. Michelle Phillips will wait for help to arrive. Dump it back as they reset. Now a flick toward the end zone. Couple of Australians out there, and it's a score for Ellipsis. Ashcroft, Brendan Ashcroft, one of the fastest men in Australia, able to get the score.
He won a bronze medal at the National Open Relay Championships. He ran the anchor of the 4x100, and Ashcroft ran that race the final 60 meters with a torn hamstring. He tore it during the first half of that final leg. Still got to the finish line and took bronze 9/10 of a second out of the gold medal spot. And he's a gem of an athlete to have on the ultimate field. He's gotten so much smarter with his field sense, you know, as any player would. Athletic, but the intelligence to know when to make that cut. And, you know, Kat Phillips there, Michelle Phillips chased down that huck and it was really patient. You know, she could have called a timeout. There was nobody within 30 yards of her when she caught the disc. But the patience, realizing the stall count might be at 5 or 6, but I can get it dumped. She, you know, good teams good teams are always willing to sacrifice yardage. So she dumped it back 15 yards, no big deal, because quick strike to the end zone anyway.
Ellipsis back up 2 at 10-8.
Right run, Jackson.
Just going more with those high pulls in this second half, trying to let their defense get situated. Making the catch on both knees and then making the dump on both knees was Cameron Bailey. Ellipsis denying hard, putting a lot of pressure on the disc. Evan Klein, puck downfield, has a teammate open. That's Revere toward the end zone for the score. Claire Revere able to get behind the Australian defense. That time Georgia Egan Griffiths, and 10-9. Mixtape not going away.
That was a gorgeous throw by Evan Klein. And for him, that's a pretty easy throw. You know, if Ellipsis is going to play Seattle Mixtape again, that'll be on the scouting report. You need to prevent Evan Klein from taking this throw, because if the offensive cutter has a couple of steps, a good thrower can float that in there pretty easily. It's just another ordinary throw for Klein, even though it was spectacular.
Klein used to be the coach of the Gonzaga Ultimate Club program. Grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina. He was a standout lacrosse player. Went to actually Virginia Tech, debating about joining the club lacrosse program, and then he made a last-second decision. Discovered Ultimate, played 4 years with the club program there, and then in club sports, you're allowed 5 years of eligibility. He was able to use up that 5th and final year at Gonzaga, where he went on to lead the club program as one of the coaches. It's a big helper here and trying to keep the championship hopes alive for Mixtape. Seattle Mixtape down 1 at 10-9.
If the Seattle offense can hold, Seattle's defense will need 2 breaks to win this game.
Kneeled up ahead to Kat Phillips, who goes tumbling over the fallen defender. That was Roberta Abbott, who went down. Bird Abbott, as they call her, and a blue card will be issued here.
Yeah. You came into her late, and it was dangerous.
Clear and precise explanation there. You see what a team misconduct foul that's assessed against a team for unsportsmanlike conduct. Now with those TMFs, you're given 2 before the third one is a yardage penalty. That is the first one on Seattle Mixtape today, or excuse me, the second. Matt Hill, Phillips, Cat, zips it, diving attempt. Did Alexander catch it? I think we're going to have discussion on this one.
The observer ruled it down. A tremendous effort from Alexander. We got to see a replay of this. Watching it live, I think it was down, but it was really close. Yeah.
Good call by the observer there, incomplete. Possible break for Mixtape. Huck downfield, El Salam cut off the route. He saw this one, was going to sail wide and out of bounds.
Well, for the second straight day, there's very little wind here in Westchester. The U.S. flag is barely moving at all. We've seen pretty good ultimate because of it.
Kat Phillips picked up by Abbott. Abbott's a really good defender. You can bet she loved the challenge, trying to slow down these Phillips sisters. What a catch by Neal, avoiding contact from El Salam. Ellipsis knocking on the doorstep 5 yards away. Neal backhand, there's Hill. And he holds the disc up high for all of Australia to see as Ellipsis goes up 11-9.
Anybody watching in Australia who's a young ultimate player, this cut from Matt Hill was beautiful. He sold the dump, made eye contact with his thrower, couple stutter steps, ran right at his defender and then right past him in a smooth outside in backhand for the score.
I made a bet.
That's a really easy throw for Neal, just as that previous huck from Klein was pretty easy. Defender there needs to do a little bit better job with his body to prevent Hill from going up line.
Watching Ellipsis this week and some of the personalities on this team, don't you get the impression that Mike Neal is kind of the stabilizing force of this squad?
He is the elder statesman. I mean, he is a guy that they can count on to do anything. Started playing Ultimate in 2003. By 2004, he's on the Australian national team. He's played all around the world. Mentioned yesterday that he started playing Ultimate in Colorado when he was a camp counselor, part of the Camp America program. And a great pickup, you know, 34 years old, along with Lacey Moore, the oldest on Ellipsis. Veteran experience, and, you know, at 34, he's still pretty darn athletic.
Tulitt's been the main polar for Ellipsis, so we're back in a familiar territory here with the 2-point lead, and now a turnover, and here comes Ellipsis trying to jump on it right away. Tulitt in the red zone following the turnover. Backhand blind flick, jumping up, making the catch is Phillips for the score. Michelle Phillips connects, and 12-9. Ellipsis with the largest lead of the day.
Just a completely unforced turnover from Seattle. Miscommunication on the initiation cut. I mean, it looked like the throw was intended for Gavin Moore. Quickly gets into the hand of Tulitt, lets the mark get set, but surveys the field, and then a big pivot. How many times have we seen him? That around backhand. One of his favorite throws. Michelle Phillips makes the easy grab. It was Hauser just sort of breaking off the cut. But Nick Dare had already committed to the throw. 12-9. It has been just an incredible experience for this Australian team. And it's been fun to watch them gain confidence together as the week has gone on here in Ohio. You know, they knew there were great players in Australia, but oftentimes you play against top American teams and you get humbled. These guys have done the humbling.
3 points away from capturing the championship, 12-9. Mixtape looking to get something set up with Phil Pohl. Pohl, the 33-year-old, gets it ahead to El Salam. Salam's going to let her go. Deep downfield, Huck. Going up at the back of the end zone and hauling it in for the score, Brad Hauser. That was pretty, wasn't it?
Sensational catch. And I thought that throw was going to sail too far. I really did. And Hauser realized exactly where he needed to release and go up for this disc. Hauser had steps, but it's the blue line in the back of the end zone, and only got 2 feet in bounds, only needed 1. But he takes 1 more step before he goes up, and he might land out of bounds.
Couple of rainmakers hooking up there with Hauser and El Salam, and a 12-10 lead for Ellipsis. Take a look at the assist leaders. I believe El Salam continues to move his name up. Cam Bailey actually on top of the charts this week for Mixtape. You mentioned a lot of different guys can handle the disc. That's what makes them so dangerous to prepare for.
The one non-finalist in that group, Vincenzo Vitello, was really fun to watch with Wild Card. You know, stepping into a larger role this weekend. Wild Card was missing Ian Engler, David Reshef, who played with him last year, now playing with Boston Ironside in the men's division. Shelly Cohen, who was with Wild Card last year, now playing with Brute Squad. They're still strong. They're integrating in some new pieces. And Vitello, his handler defense, and obviously his ability to distribute the disc certainly bodes well for Wild Card moving forward.
Seattle trying to get a tee. They won't get it here. There was contact on the release from Hill, so a foul will be called. Trying to get the turnover. Down a couple. Hill will have the reset. He goes back to Henry Thomas. Thomas across the field to Jackson. Jackson turns.
It was early. We're going to be in on 2, gentlemen.
Pick called, so they'll start the count at 2. Jackson thought about flicking it toward the end zone. He had a couple of guys streaking down the center. Thought better of it. Another pick has been called.
Is everybody set? Is everybody set? Hey, ground type.
Puts this with 5 individuals in the stack. They all break their separate way. Neal directing traffic. Coming to the disc was Prentice. Gets rid of it to Cat Phillips. Phillips being forced back in. Nice job by Neal to come to her on the cut. Now Neal to cross the way. Matt Hill up and the score. Left, right, left, back, right to finish it.
You said it, zigzagging their way to glory. Mike Neal with a really mature cut here. Swings the disc in the hands of Phillips. And look at this cut from Neal. Coming into your screen, just burning past Evan Klein. And then changing the fields. No real force ever set there in transition. Trying to get the mark set, but he overshot it. And if he doesn't throw that with quite so much zip, Kavanaugh could get a piece of the disc. Instead, Neal picks up his 4th assist, and the Australians are 2 scores away. And I think they're getting some fans here in the USA.
Winning over some folks in Ohio. 13-10, Ellipsis with the lead. And we talked about the women of this Australian team, but we're seeing some of the leaders on the men's side with Hill and Neal. Gavin Moore scored a couple. Tulip with his presence defensively and handling the disc for them. Well-balanced machine from Australia. Down under here, 13-10. Seattle Mixtape, low throw and a layout save. Nicely done by Hauser to keep possession.
Probably goes without saying, but this is a must hold here for Seattle if they have any chance.
Left-handed flick toward the end zone, and they will get the score up and over for the point as Bailey hauls it in. So they get the hold, or they get the hold like you were saying there. And again, it's going to come down to defense and what they can do to slow down Ellipsis.
I think one thing that Seattle Mixtape is going to improve upon as the season goes on is their downfield spacing. You know, some points it's been solid, some others they've clogged, and certainly not given each other the best space to make plays. But they're talented throwers. And obviously Bailey's a heck of an athlete. So timeout called, 13-11. Seattle trailing by 2, getting ready to pull.
You look at the history with Seattle Mixtape through the years, and one of their mottos that they came up with late last year after, you know, their strong run in the Nationals is, why not us? They decided to join the Triple Crown Tour this year. They had a good tournament over in Ireland. A number of their players traveled overseas. Their style last year really changed. They made a decision that they wanted to compete at the start of last year, and it kind of changed the style. You know, a lot of the players were used to playing unlimited playing time, and they had to make some adjustments throughout the course of the year. Guys and, you know, men and women who were not used to getting subbed out were subbing out, and they said that really was the toughest part of their year because that kind of rubbed some of them the wrong way, but they were able to make adjustments, battle through that, the camaraderie in between the team that we kind of talked about yesterday, that you have so many dynamic personalities. Sometimes they clash and things like that, and that's what Seattle Mixtape, it sounded like, had to make an adjustment to last year.
Winning breeds good camaraderie, and they've been successful. And they've had a lot of different names. The team started about 7 years ago. There's a small core of players that were on that 2009 team, known as Seattle Mixed last year. Asked them what were some of the other name choices when they chose Mixtape. There are a lot of bad ones, Khalif El Salam told us. Asked him what came in second. He said the Savage Yetis was second. That was a decent name.
Yeah, we kind of like that. We both thought that one had a shot.
I like the Mixtape logo.
And that was designed by one of their players.
Yep. Grace Noah. Very good at graphic design. Mixtape, not to be confused with a song from Avenue Q. But who doesn't like a good mixtape?
I'm going to say, for Andrew Jackson, just make sure Taylor's on that mixtape. Jackson makes the catch here for Ellipsis. A 2-point lead, 2 points away from a championship. Cat Phillips up near midfield. Guarded tightly on the play by Abbott. Comes back center to Neal. Now Hill has it. This has been a lethal connection in the second half for Ellipsis. Hill and Neal. Neal being shadowed right now by El Salam downfield. Jackson makes the catch after the attempted lay. He'll hammer toss it toward the end zone for the easy score. Danny Alexander, Australia inches closer.
You know, perhaps more than anyone on this Melbourne team, Danny Alexander has made a name for herself in this tournament. She's always open in the end zone. Great hands, great poise. Obviously a lot of throwers who can drop the disc on a dime, as Jackson does here.
So Alexander stick up her right arm, her right hand, kind of flank it, pointing the direction she wanted that hammer from Jackson, and he put it on the money like he has all week. And she continues to add to the total here in the mixed division. Her 20th goal, leading all scores. I'd be smiling if I was her. You have championship point possibly next time you touch the disc. You're leading the division in goals. I guarantee you one of the first people that she'll thank is that man right there, Andrew Jackson.
We're on the verge of an international team winning the U.S. Open mixed division for the second time in the last 3 years. 2013 in Raleigh, Montreal Odyssey, led by Jean-Levy Champagne and Chris Matthew.
Seattle Mixtape team as they send a huck downfield looking for Bailey. Remember, he can jump out of the arena here, and he goes up and hauls it in, and he'll show those ups again as he spikes it down. 14-12. Remember, this Mixtape team lost their first pool game to Slow White. I mean, they were beat by 6, 15-9, and some people had kind of crossed them off, but then they won 5 in a row. And you asked the question to El Salam if you panicked at all after that first loss in pool play.
And he said that as a captain, he's been working on being calmer and more reasonable. I think maybe a couple years ago, he might have panicked and got really frustrated. But he looked at, you know, that slow white game as an opportunity to take note, analyze, and contemplate rather than just yell and scream and be angry. And it really made a difference. You know, a lot of the Seattle players took red eyes on Wednesday night and a Thursday morning, landed at 6 a.m., had that first game at 9 a.m. You look at it in that context, and of course they lost because, you know, who plays a game 3 hours after they landed when they didn't sleep much of the night? It's a really tough trip for some of the West Coast teams. And they just, you know, basically said, okay, we're fine. They got to win in their second game on Thursday. And that was really the turning point because they woke up Friday and said, okay, this is a brand new day. You know, we got it now. Brand new day. Let's do our thing. And they did.
They create a turnover here, so Seattle Mixtape, El Salam back in control, down a couple, trying to turn it into a break. Give and go action to get it back into the hands of Daniel Walton. Walton, the 30-year-old first-year player, one of 3 doctors on this Mixtape roster. Abbott has it, dumps it back to Walton. El Salam marked by Jackson. Salam, soft backhand, over along the sideline to Klein. We've seen Klein dish out that backhand. He's going to go down the sideline looking for Salam. Just ran out of real estate. Australia looked like they were waiting for that.
Yeah, another type of throw that in pickup maybe you take as Australia sends it deep, but not a great matchup, and Klein earns possession back.
Abbott goes down low to corral it. Here's Walton.
Ellipsis hadn't turned it over their previous 5 points. 2 turns on this one.
Hammer toss. Difficult throw, but he put it on the money to El Salam, right over the top of Steph Mulcher. Nothing she could do. How about that throw on the hammer to El Salam to keep the hopes alive for Mixtape?
Beautiful break for Seattle. The gorgeous helix pleasantly settling into the possession of Khalif El Salam. So Melbourne received with a chance to win it, could not put it away. They will receive again with a chance to win it. Soft cap will go on after this next point. It'll be hard to 16 if Melbourne does not win it here. And a timeout called as they try to figure out what is going to work to win this title. The glory, the prize money, hopefully an invitation to come back to the U.S. Open next year.
Yeah, we were talking about that with them, you know, with their experience here and how much fun they're having, the success that they have enjoyed. And, you know, we both asked them, are you ready to make a return trip back next year? And they all smiled, and they were ready to. You know, that's when they brought up their friendly rivalry with their counterpart Frisky back home in Australia. Frisky was actually, you know, a program that wanted to get over here. Callan Spielman, was a former Frisky member, and he has landed with Ellipsis. In fact, a lot of the players on this Ellipsis squad had to change their flight plans. They were originally scheduled to fly back maybe later today and tonight.
Didn't expect to be in the finals.
No, with their performance, they're sticking around a little bit longer. Poor Spielman, he had arranged a ride with some of the Boston team to get back to the airport to fly home. Well, they took off, so he's still searching for a flight to get back to Australia.
And it's a good problem to have, albeit perhaps an expensive one.
Yes. So championship point for the second time for Ellipsis. Khalif El Salam, what a performance today for Mixtape. As expected, one of the rising stars in the sport. He will have the pull. And here we go for Australia.
If Melbourne scores here, they win. If Seattle scores here, Seattle will pull to Melbourne, but that will not be universe point. It would be hard to 16. So this is a true offensive point to win it. If they can't capitalize, then it's a game to 2.
Kneeled, the Phillips sisters, along with Henry Thomas. Tom Tullett out there for Australia. This is Jackson, Andrew Jackson. Gets it up ahead to Thomas. Thomas patiently across the way, and the pass sailed on Neild, and life for Mixtape. How about this?
There was a pick on the play, but it gets waved off via the incompletion.
Best matchup is with the coon, with the fly coon.
A little tight, overthrowing the tall Mike Neild. Good job on the mark by Timmel.
Traveling will be the call with Walton.
Walton wanted that big around outside in backhand, and Timmel did a great job shifting his
6 or were you at 5?
foundation to block that throw.
Let's start it at 6.
Stalling 6. Stalling 6. Do you want to set your pivot on the, before you start, set your pivot on the field though?
On the field?
Yeah. That's good. Thank you.
Stalling 6, so they'll pick it up on that 6 count. Walton knows he has to get rid of it, and that creates the turnover. And it all goes back to that mark, as you mentioned, by Hill.
And the roll gives it to him on the goal line.
They lob it in for the score, and Australia is your U.S. Open champion, and how appropriate. It's Kat Phillips, who we've highlighted all week long here in Ohio. Ellipsis, your champion, and smiles all the way around from the Australians here.
2:40 in the morning where these guys live. I imagine there are some lively slumber parties in Melbourne and Sydney. The fortuitous roll, and Jackson to Phillips for the championship. You know, they had the most talent in the mixed division, but that doesn't always produce a championship. They played together, and they capitalized on their opportunities. They were very efficient on turnovers. Today, they weren't as effective on break chances, but when all was said and done, they did enough. And, you know, Seattle mixed, always a bridesmaid, never a bride. Second place again for the mixed team from Seattle. They'll wrap this thing up with a spirit circle. Really spirited game from both teams, and you know, it's hard to be too frustrated if you're Seattle. Throughout the weekend, they did what they did. You can't be angry at the team from Melbourne. There's nothing that you could dislike about them. They're so much fun, and now they're champs.
There's a new champion in Westchester, Ohio, from Melbourne, Australia, Ellipsis, your 2015 U.S. Open title. Discraft Ultra Star, the official disc of USA Ultimate. Ask your retailer for Discraft Ultra Star. The Triple Crown Tour, the Sport of Ultimate's premier competitive experience, and by USA Ultimate, the national governing body for the Sport of Ultimate in the United States. For more information or to find out where to play Ultimate in your area, visit usaultimate.org. What a terrific start here in Westchester. The first of 3 champions has been crowned. You see the spirit of Ultimate as Melbourne, Australia is your champion. 15-13 they take care of Seattle Mixed, and the recipient of the championship point now joins us, Kat Phillips, the 23-year-old. And Kat, you go back to 2010, the U23 title game, and you delivered the assist to your sister, Michelle Phillips, to capture gold that year.
Yep.
Now you're on the opposite end. You haul it in for the U.S. Open title. Take us through your emotions right now.
Yeah, I think the whole game we knew we'd have to come out really hard, really tough the whole game. And the game was a bit of an up and down. We went up, they came back. We had a really tough game up until half, and then after halftime we knew we had to come out really hard. And we did. We got up by a few. And then I've played a couple of games where they've come back. We've been up by 14 and they've come back and won it. So I think I'm more relieved than anything that we got away with the win at the end.
Yeah, how nervous were you? What was the talk during the timeout late in the game when they had gotten a break?
We were pretty confident with our O-line. We'd been getting out there after half, walking it in. And we knew if we played well, we'd walk it in again. after they got the turn on that point, a bit more nervous, but then I was confident we could get it done.
Seemed like a pretty spirited game. How was the spirit circle down there? What was said in the spirit circle?
Yeah, really good game. We knew a couple of the players from that team from back in 2008, and it was really good to play them again. Yeah, we had a really great week and a really spirited tournament all up, and that game was no different.
So can your family and friends now finally go to sleep back in Australia after staying up in the middle of the night to watch you win this championship?
They can, yeah. I think they had a 2 a.m. game and then a 1 a.m. game. We're really thankful they all got on board and followed along the whole week.
What's this mean for Australia as you go back with the U.S. Open Championship?
I think we've been competitive with American teams for a long time, but we haven't come away with the win very often. And it's really great that we can come here and do that and show them that we can compete at the very top level. And going back home, yeah, it'll be great to tell people what we've done, hopefully get a few more younger people involved in playing, tell them they can come over here, you know, play with America, play against America.
How are you guys going to celebrate tonight?
We want to go out for buffalo wings with the team, I think. we found a place near our hotel. That'll be good.
Well, Kat, go enjoy it. It has been a treat to watch Ellipsis this week. Congratulations on a wonderful run.
Thank you.
Kat Phillips from Ellipsis. Time now for the Discraft Ultra-Star play of the game. And here it is, championship point.
A turnover from Seattle. They had a chance to tie it at 14s, but it only took one throw as Jackson hit Phillips. Just a little too much. Seattle recognizing how important it was with Bailey giving up the body. But it was Melbourne's day here in Ohio.
It was Melbourne's week.
Yes, it was.
In Ohio, no doubt about it. The mixed bracket is now final. Congratulations to Ellipsis. They win the title here at the U.S. Open Championships 15-13.
I think you and I both agree it'd be great if they could come back next year to defend the title. Obviously, there's expense factors involved, but wow, they dominated the mixed field. A lot of close games, but they came out on top in all of them. They played the game the right way. They had so much fun doing it. They are a worthy U.S. Open champion.
We're just getting started here in Westchester. 2 more championships to come. We'll have the women's poll coming up at 1:30 Eastern. That's the story for now. For Evan Lepler, I'm Sean Kenny saying so long from Lakota West High School, where their final score is Ellipsis 15, Seattle Mixtape 13. To watch this game on replay, log on to watchespn.com or download the Watch ESPN app. Thanks everybody for watching. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. And as our friends in Australia say, cheers everybody.